Hello, friends, and welcome to the Architecture Enthusiast. Islamic architecture, in its immense geographic and historical breadth, offers not a single answer to the question, what is architecture, but a chorus of harmonious responses, each echoing a core set of shared philosophical principles. It's an architecture shaped less by a singular style than by a unified spiritual and cultural outlook, where the built environment is a profound reflection of cosmic order, divine unity, and the human relationship with the sacred. From the sun-baked plains of Spain to the intricate mosaics of Central Asia, from the grand mosques of Istanbul to the serene courtyards of North Africa, a consistent and deeply meaningful language emerges. This is an architecture that doesn't exist for itself. It exists as a vehicle for a higher purpose, a physical and sensory manifestation of a spiritual reality that transcends the mundane. This architecture arose from a new faith that swept across vast territories, bringing together diverse cultures under a shared belief system. It borrowed from Roman, Byzantine, Sasanian, and other local traditions, yet it transformed these elements with a radical new purpose. The result was a synthesis of forms and ideas that created a uniquely Islamic architectural language. The guiding principles were not drawn from a formal aesthetic manifesto, but from the spiritual truths of the faith itself. To the question, what is architecture? Islamic tradition would offer a response rooted in three foundational concepts that are intertwined and inseparable: the expression of unity, the creation of a contemplative interiority, and the celebration of God through the beauty of geometry, light, and pattern. The expression of unity, Tawhid. First and foremost, Islamic architecture is a means of expressing Tawhid, the concept of the absolute oneness and indivisible unity of God. This principle, so central to Islam, manifests in a visually paradoxical manner in the architecture. While other religious architectures often rely on a single, dominant, or monumental gesture, like a monolithic statue or an anthropomorphic figure, to represent the divine, Islamic architecture rejects such representations. This spiritual guidance led to a creative flowering of abstract art, where the infinite nature of God is expressed not through a singular form, but through the unification of countless parts. Instead of a single hierarchical structure, Islamic architecture often uses intricate patterns, repetitions, and a non-hierarchical flow of space to create a sense of a unified whole out of countless fragments. A single mosaic tile, a single carved piece of wood, or a single brick unit is a fragment. But when repeated infinitely, each piece meticulously contributes to a grand, all-encompassing pattern that has no discernible beginning and no apparent end. The overall effect is a single, continuous, and unified surface that envelops the space, blurring the distinction between individual elements. The beauty of the whole is not a function of one single dominant element, but of the collective harmony of its myriad parts, all working in concert. This is a powerful and profound metaphor for the faith itself. The individual part is nothing without the whole, but the whole is nothing without the diligent and faithful contribution of its individual parts. Architecture, in this sense, becomes a physical and spatial manifestation of a spiritual truth where form and faith are inseparable. This philosophy of unity is further expressed in the intricate, repetitive motifs that adorn walls, floors, and domes. These are not merely decorative, they are visual prayers, a form of spiritual meditation. A geometric pattern with an 8-pointed star, for example, is not just a shape, it's a representation of the order of the cosmos, where each point connects to another in an infinite, non-hierarchical network. The meticulous craftsmanship required to produce these complex patterns speaks to a deep sense of devotion. The artisan, inlaying 1,000 tiles or carving an intricate screen, performs a meditative act, each small part a prayer in service of the magnificent whole. This non-representational, non-hierarchical approach to design is a direct consequence of avoiding figural imagery, which redirected creative energy into an extraordinary and unparalleled flourishing of abstract art, mathematics, and geometry. The result is an architecture that does not depict God, but rather points to his boundless presence, a constant, abstract reminder of the divine order that underpins all creation. Interiority and contemplation. Secondly, Islamic architecture is a tool for creating a sacred and contemplative interiority. While much of Western architecture, particularly in its public and religious forms, seeks to make a powerful statement from its exterior to impress upon the passing world. Islamic architecture's most profound moments are often concealed and revealed only to those who enter. The exterior may be a simple, massive brick wall, a humble and unadorned facade that provides little hint of what lies within. This deliberate contrast between the public and the private, the mundane and the sacred, creates a sense of withdrawal from the chaos of the outside world and a controlled, sequenced journey toward a protected, sacred space. The journey itself is an important part of the experience. The courtyard, San, a defining element of almost all Islamic architecture, is the epitome of this principle. It is not an empty space, but an inward-facing void, a peaceful garden, or a central open expanse that serves as the heart of the structure. It is a private oasis for gathering and contemplation, a direct link to the heavens above, often punctuated by a fountain or a pool of water that provides a soothing sound and a reflective surface. The spaces around it, the colonnades, the prayer halls, the private rooms, all turn inward, shielding the sacred from the profane and establishing a clear boundary between the private and public realms. Architecture here is a means of creating a controlled, contained environment for reflection, community, and direct communion with the divine, away from the distractions of the outside world. This inward focus is a direct expression of the faith's emphasis on the personal and spiritual journey of the individual, prioritizing the inner experience over the external show. The air in these courtyards is often still and cool, the sounds contained and the light filtered, all contributing to a sense of profound serenity. The transition from the noisy, sun-baked street to the peaceful, cool sanctuary of the courtyard is a physical and psychological shift, a kind of purification before entering the spiritual heart of the building. This deliberate sequence of spaces, from the grand public entrance to the more private courtyards, and then to the intimate, prayerful interiors, creates a palpable sense of layered experience, guiding the individual on a symbolic journey inward toward a more spiritual state, beauty as a sacred duty. Finally, Islamic architecture is the celebration of God's perfect creation through the beauty of geometry, light, and pattern. Islamic tradition holds that God is a supreme artist, and therefore, to create with beauty is to honor the divine. The avoidance of figural representation, which might lead to idolatry, was not a limitation but a liberation, leading to an extraordinary and unparalleled flourishing of abstract and non-representational art in architecture. Geometry and pattern. Geometry became the primary language of expression. The complex star patterns, polygons, and intricate interlacing lines that adorn walls, domes, and floors are not just decorative. They are a form of applied mathematics, a visual meditation on cosmic order, and a symbol of God's boundless knowledge. These geometric motifs are infinite, interlocking, and without a single starting point, serving as a visual representation of the underlying mathematical order of the universe. The arabesque, with its intricate interlacing floral and vegetal motifs, adds a layer of natural beauty, symbolizing the vitality of life and the divine presence in nature. Muqarnas, a form of decorative honeycomb vaulting, takes this geometric complexity into 3 dimensions. These delicate, interlocking forms appear to defy gravity, transforming the solid mass of a dome or vault into a surface that seems to dissolve into a myriad of beautiful, weightless fragments. This visual trickery is not meant to deceive, but to evoke a sense of the miraculous and to express the impossible beauty of the divine. Light. Light is a partner to geometry and an essential tool for spiritual effect. It is not just for illumination, but for spiritual experience. Meticulously carved mashrabiyah screens or stained glass windows filter sunlight into a space, breaking it into countless dapples of light and shadow that dance across surfaces. This diffused, modulated light creates an ethereal, spiritual atmosphere, a far cry from the stark, direct light of the outdoors. Light, in this context, is a metaphor for divine presence, subtly and beautifully illuminating the interior without being overpowering. The way light is controlled, sculpted, and filtered speaks to the belief that the divine presence is all-pervading but not physically manifest, subtly touching and transforming everything it touches. The brilliance of the midday sun is tamed and softened, becoming a gentle and contemplative presence within the space. Calligraphy. Furthermore, a building's surface is a canvas for a rich array of textures and patterns, with calligraphy being the most sacred form. Often adorning a building's surfaces, it transforms the structure into a living text, where passages from the Quran or poetic verses are seamlessly integrated into the design. The building literally speaks to its occupants, combining the visual with the spiritual. Calligraphy is not just writing, it is a sacred art form, and its flowing, graceful lines are a visual representation of the divine word. The act of placing this sacred text on the walls, mihrabs, and domes of a building sanctifies the space, transforming it into a site of spiritual communication. The use of rich, vibrant colors, brilliant blues, lush greens, and burnished golds enhances these patterns, creating an almost otherworldly sense of abundance and splendor, a foreshadowing of the paradise promised in religious texts. In conclusion, Islamic architecture is not a monolithic answer to what architecture is, but a profound and multifaceted response that has evolved over centuries and across continents. It is an art form that seeks not to dominate, but to harmonize, not to shout, but to contemplate, and not to represent, but to evoke. It shows that architecture is an act of faith, a spiritual practice that uses the material world of bricks, mortar, and light to point toward a greater, unseen reality. It is an architecture of immense intellect and profound emotion, proving that the most beautiful and enduring forms are those that are guided by a deep and abiding sense of spiritual purpose.